So today should be a pretty quick video. I do want to kind of review what we did in the first video as well. So the other video, we were finding missing side lengths. So to review that down here, finding the value of x, we're given what our angle measure is and either a side, two sides of the triangle. So for this one, we were given the opposite and the adjacent side. So we had to figure out, okay, what trig ratio are we going to use for this to solve for x for this one? So this one is our opposite over adjacent, which is tangent. So tangent of 39 equals opposite 11 over adjacent x. Remember I said we weren't going to be tested on this one, but we could just swap those places. So x equals 11 divided by tangent of 39. Okay, but being able to set this up, the part in the red would be very, very helpful. Okay, again, knowing where our hypotenuse is across from that right angle. So let's do number 8. Across from right angle, my hypotenuse is 28. So here I am given the hypotenuse and the adjacent side, right? So here's my angle. Adjacent and hypotenuse is cosine. So cosine of 46 equals x over 28. We then move that 28 to the other side. 28 times cosine of 46 equals x. And then we pop that into our scientific calculator over here in Desmos. Okay. So this one would be, it was 28 times cosine of 46. So 28 cosine 46, that would be, and if we rounded up, it would be 19.5. So x equals 19.5 for us. Okay, so today we're going to find the missing angle measures now. We're still using those trig ratios that we need to know, and our calculator still needs to be in degree mode. The main difference here is that before we were using sine, cosine, and tangent ratios. Now when we plug that in, we're using the inverse. So when we look at our calculator, we're going to have to find these functions instead. Okay, and I'll show you why once we go through these examples. All right, so let's look at number 1. Again, making sure we are marking our hypotenuse across from the right angle right here. And knowing, okay, here's the angle that I'm looking for. Now my angle is x. So I have my opposite side and my hypotenuse. That one's pretty easy to be sine, but I'll write these over here just so we can remember them. Okay, so sine of x is now going to be 15 over 24. Okay, yes, we could plug this in our calculator, 15 divided by 24, and find an answer, but we still have the sine of x. So to get rid of that sine of x, we take the inverse. Sine, we write it as -1. So that gets rid of sine on that side. So what we do the one side of our equation, we have to do to the other side of our equation. So really what we're plugging into our calculator is sine inverse or inverse sine of 15 over 24. So when we go, let me split screen this so we can see what we are doing here. So when we go to this, again, here's how you make sure that your calculator is in degree. Once you pull this up on your Chromebook, it should always be in degree. So what we're going to do is sine of -1, 15 divided by 24. Well, if you look here, this is just the regular sine. So what we need to do is click on this function button. And here, see where it says sine -1? So we're going to plug that in. We're going to go back to the main, and we're going to do 15 divided by 24. And you see how that made that into a fraction? And we can close, whoops. then we can close our parenthesis there. Again, round to the nearest tenth, it tells us. So 1 decimal place, but this one we need to round up. So our answer would be 38.7 for this one. So we would then say that x equals 38.7. Okay, again, just seeing these examples and making sure that we are figuring this out will make it easier in the end. All right, so first thing, finding our hypotenuse. So across from the right angle, our hypotenuse is 11. And we're looking at angle X. So we actually don't have the opposite side, we have the adjacent side. So which trig ratio are we going to use? Sine, cosine, or tangent? We're going to use cosine. So we say cosine of X equals 8 over 11. Remember, now we have to take the inverse of both sides to find our answer. So X will be the cosine, inverse cosine of 8 over 11. And again, we're just plugging these in our calculator. That's really all we are doing. We're taking cosine -1. So remember, we need to go to our function tab, cosine -1, go back to the main, 8 divided by 11. All right, and it tells us, just press enter, it tells us 43.3. So then X equals 43.3. Okay, so that is what we're looking for those answers. So let's try a couple more and then we'll go from there. Like I said, this video should be pretty short today. Again, checking our highlighter. It was still green, but that's okay. For what side is our hypotenuse? So here's our hypotenuse. We actually don't have our hypotenuse. So X has the opposite over adjacent, which would be tangent. So tangent of X equals 20 over 37. Again, we take the inverse of this to solve. X equals, now if you don't want to write this out and you're like, okay, I got this, I know that it's going to be the inverse, so I'm going to take the inverse function of tangent and put it over my fraction, which was 20 divided by 37. And we get 28.4. 28.4. Oops, that was not written very nicely. Sometimes this thing is touchy. 28.4. Okay, let's do one more and then we will go on to our practice. So you guys can get some practice of both solving for the missing side and angle. So my hypotenuse, we actually have a hypotenuse this time, 23. Here's my angle. I don't have opposite, so I have adjacent. So I know it's cosine. So cosine of X equals 18 over 23. I then take the inverse function of these. And that my handwriting's getting sloppy now. Cosine -1, 18 over 23. So let's plug that in the calculator. Inverse cosine of 18 divided by 23. And I get 38.49. So I want to round that up. So it's going to be 38.5 for that angle. Okay, you can take some time, set up 5 and 6, try those on your own, and then we will review them in class. Have a good day.